So we got to assemble this project now that all the pieces cut out. So what I did off camera was I drilled all the holes for the dowels. Figured it might be better to show you the finished product on this one and explain how I got there rather than doing it in front of the camera. So let me show you how I went from a bunch of pieces to this. Again, this is not glue, this is just kind of dry fit together. So let me put this apart here and show you how I got to this stage. Okay, so here's what we got. We got a leg here. We have 3 dowels on one side and 2 on the other side. The reason we do that is so that the holes don't meet at that same intersection point. So we offset them 2 and 3 like that. So the way that looks like on the rails, we got two. So this board has 2. And this board will have 3. This board will have 3. So how do we get there? Well, let's start with one leg, and I'll show you how to visualize it first, and then mark it second, and then third drill it. So let me pull the dowels out and we'll show you how we get to this point. All right, so let's focus on one of these legs here. So we got 3 and 2, 3 and 2. So the 3s are on the one side, rotate it, 2s on the other side. So the way we do that is first we're going to get a drill bit like this that we use, and we're going to drop in this little doohickey here. This is like a little check. There's a screw right here that aligns up and down. I'm not sure if the camera can see that or not, but the screw is at the 3/4 mark. And then basically you want to like just make sure that that tip of the drill bit is hitting that screw. If it's not, you can grab the Allen wrench that's next to this thing in my office on the shelf where I keep these, and adjust this little collar so that things are lined up the way they should. That's just a quick check. Okay, so when you get ready to drill your holes, you kind of want to set this up as if it's the project. So let me scoot you back a little bit here. So if you start with this one, for example. So on the drawer front piece, it's going to be the 3. And then the way we do that is we're going to use our drill guide. And what we'll do is put a little check mark on the top of the leg. And what I like to do is just draw myself 3 circles, kind of where they're going to live. You can't see them because they're kind of gone, but like I drew 3 circles and 3 circles just to kind of give myself a visual reference where to drill those holes. So when you get ready to drill those holes, what you can do is put your drill guide on the leg, and we want to line up this block right here with a check mark. We want that to be even with the check mark on the wood. So that's the top of the leg. Top of the leg. Make sure it's sitting down all the way. Sorry. And then, so we're going to drill 1, skip 1, and skip 1. Those are the 3. And what you can do too is draw a hole with a pencil. And then if you scoot this down, you'll notice I have a line made right here. that line right there. That line is 2 inches up from the bottom. Looking at the example over here, you got a space 2 inches from the bottom. So instead of going all the way to the bottom and making this even, we're going to use that pencil mark. And we consider that pencil mark the check mark reference surface. So there's the check mark right there. I'm going to line up that check mark on check mark and lock this down. And again, you can draw a hole, draw a hole, draw a hole with a pencil. And that might help you kind of visualize where those holes are going to live. And then, so we've just done these three and these three. Now we're going to switch to the rails and drill some holes there. So on these rail boards, what I've done is drawn a check mark right here. I'll make it a little bigger. And a check mark right there. Check mark here, check mark here. So you notice the check marks are on the same edge and the same face. So check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark. I also done that over here on this one. And what that means, again, we're gonna put the check mark, which is right here on this face, and the check mark on this block right here. Make sure those line up. So I'm gonna put the check mark and that check mark touching each other, and that check mark and that check mark touching each other. And then I'm gonna go like this, and you can draw, 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 flip it over, and you don't have to draw these, but it might be a good idea if you draw them all out. It'll help you visualize when you start to drill where all these live on the project. And then so once you do that, you might want to assemble these together so that you know that those line up with each other, those line up, and then maybe do the other three. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then put that whole assembly together. And that would look like this. Once you get that assembly together and you're good with it, then you move on to this side here and kind of mark out where your 2 go and your 2. And then mark those out. Again, we have our little visualization line right here, so that's our reference. And then you just kind of have to take your time. If I was you, I would mark them all out. Once you get them marked out, you can visualize to make sure they line up the way you think they're going to line up. And what I'll do is I'll leave this project out for you to kind of use as a visual aid in putting these together. But I think at the end of the day, it's just a matter of being patient and getting all these check marks to line up. But once you do, you should be good to go. Okay, so just to repeat, now that you have a little bit of what I'm thinking here, you kind of want to keep the threes on one side. What I mean by that is, like, imagine this to be your three face, 3 and 3. So your threes are pointing this way, and then your twos are 90 degrees to that. So 2, 2, 2, and 2. Makes things a little bit easier to assemble that way. So I'll leave this out. If you decide to pull it apart, put it back together for me. One thing you can do is kind of just give it a small tap like that, and kind of put your eyeballs right in here and see what I did for 3 and what I did for 2. So that way you don't have to pull the whole thing apart. But if you do pull the whole thing apart, do me a favor, put it back together. And let me know if you have any questions.